I straighten the cuff of my silk blouse as I watch the city wake up from my office window. The glass reflects the faint glow of sunrise, but also my own calm, composed face, the face I've learned to wear like armor. Outside, traffic hums below, but in here, everything is quiet, controlled. The buzz of my phone breaks the silence. It's a calendar alert. My stomach tightens when I see the name of the people I'm about to meet.
Them.
I almost laugh, because the memory of the last time we sat across a table together still burns. Only back then, I was the one desperate for their approval. I can still see the condescending smiles, the way they slid my proposal back across the table without even a real discussion. Now, they're coming here, to my office. I cap my fountain pen, slip on my heels, and take a deep breath. My assistant knocks gently and peeks in.
They're here, she says.
I nod, smoothing a non-existent wrinkle from my blouse. My heart should be racing, but it isn't. It's steady, strong. I pick up the leather folder on my desk, the one that holds their future, and head toward the conference room. Today, the tables turn. 3 years ago, I was sitting in a very different conference room, one that smelled faintly of burnt coffee and old carpet cleaner. My hands wouldn't stop sweating, and I kept wiping them on my skirt, hoping no one noticed. Across from me sat 3 people I once admired: Mark, with his expensive watch and smug grin, Susan with her sharp bob haircut, and Victor, who never looked up from his phone. They were the investors I believed would change my life. I had spent weeks perfecting my business plan, late nights, cold pizza, and enough coffee to keep me awake until sunrise. My pitch deck was color-coded, polished, bulletproof. Or so I thought. I stood at the head of the table, clearing my throat. So, this concept focuses on small businesses. I began, my voice wavering just slightly. It helps them streamline their online presence without. Stop, Mark said, holding up a hand. I froze. This is cute, he said, glancing at Susan, who smirked. But it's not scalable. It's not what we're looking for. Victor finally looked up from his phone long enough to shrug. You're passionate, I'll give you that, he said, but passion doesn't pay bills. I felt the sting of those words like a slap. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to stay upright. Thank you for your time, I said, gathering my notes with shaking hands. I could feel Susan's eyes on me, like she was watching a child finally learn a hard lesson. When I got home that night, I collapsed on my bed and let the tears come. The rejection hurt, but beneath the hurt was something hotter: determination. On my nightstand was my grandmother's old leather journal, the one she'd given me before she passed. Inside the front cover, in her elegant cursive, she had written, "Sometimes you have to build the table they won't give you a seat at." I wiped my face, sat up, and opened my laptop. If they wouldn't believe in me, I would believe in myself and make them regret it. That night, I rewrote my plan from scratch. Those first few months were brutal. I worked out of my tiny apartment, my desk wedged between the window and the radiator that hissed all night in the winter. I lived on instant noodles and peanut butter sandwiches, every spare dollar going into website hosting fees and software subscriptions. At first, there were no clients, just endless research, late-night online courses, and trial-and-error prototypes. I learned to design, to code, to market. I taught myself bookkeeping from YouTube videos and downloaded free templates to track my expenses. There were nights when I stared at my ceiling, wondering if Mark was right. Maybe passion really didn't pay the bills. But every time I thought about quitting, I opened my grandmother's journal, read her words, and reminded myself why I had started. The first break came unexpectedly: a small bakery in Brooklyn that needed help creating an online ordering system. I charged them barely enough to cover my time, but when I saw the owner's face light up after her first sale came through online, I felt something I hadn't felt since that rejection meeting: hope. Word spread faster than I imagined. Soon a florist called, then a yoga studio, then a local bookstore. Each client taught me something new, and I reinvested every cent back into the business. 6 months later, I met Rachel, a seasoned entrepreneur who became my unofficial mentor. She was everything I aspired to be: poised, brilliant, unapologetically confident. I see a lot of myself in you, she told me one night over coffee. But you have to stop thinking small. Stop being afraid of what they said about you. You don't need their approval. You need scale. She introduced me to her network, helped me negotiate my first big contract with a regional grocery chain. I nearly fainted when I saw the number on the signed agreement. With Rachel's guidance, I hired my first employee, then another. My one-woman operation became a team. We moved into a shared co-working space, then into our own small office with peeling paint and secondhand desks, but it felt like a palace to me. Through it all, I stayed quiet on social media. No grand announcements, no posts about success. My family thought I was freelancing here and there, just getting by. My former investors never called, and I never reached out. I wanted my work to grow in silence. I wanted my success to be undeniable when the time finally came to show them. And that time was coming. The conference room door clicks softly behind me as I step inside. My heels sound sharp against the polished hardwood floor, and 3 familiar faces turn toward me.
Mark. Susan.
Victor. They look almost exactly the same as I remember, except now there's a faint edge of uncertainty in their expressions. Alexis, Mark says, standing to shake my hand. It's been a while. Yes, I reply smoothly, sliding into my chair at the head of the table. It has. My assistant sets down coffee for everyone, and I notice Susan glancing around the room as if she can't quite believe where she is. The walls are lined with framed press features and industry awards. A custom shelf displays products from some of our most successful clients, businesses that now thrive because of my company's software. Victor clears his throat. We've been following your company's growth, he says. Impressive. Really impressive. I let a small smile play at the corner of my lips. Thank you. So, what brings you here today? Mark leans forward, suddenly animated. We're looking for a partner. We believe your platform could integrate perfectly with our latest project. If we can collaborate, we could. I hold up a hand, mirroring the exact gesture Mark used on me 3 years ago. The irony isn't lost on me. Before we discuss partnerships, I say, folding my hands on the table, let's be clear about one thing. I don't just run this company. I pause, letting the silence stretch. I own it. 100%. Their faces are priceless. Mark blinks, Susan's jaw tightens. Victor actually sets his phone down. This building, this team, this technology. I continue, my voice calm but firm. It all came from the business plan you said wasn't scalable. The idea you laughed at. Mark shifts uncomfortably. We may have underestimated you back then. I lean back in my chair, studying them. Yes, you did. For a moment, no one speaks. I can feel their discomfort and their respect, hanging heavy in the air. Susan is the first to recover. Well, she says, forcing a smile, clearly you've done well for yourself. We're here because we want to work with you now. The words are everything I once dreamed of hearing, but they don't make me giddy. They make me steady. I see, I say. Then let's talk about terms. I open the leather folder on the table, the one holding the agreement I had my legal team draft. Their eyes widen slightly as they scan the pages. This is not a partnership proposal. This is an employment contract. Wait, Victor says slowly. You're offering to acquire us? No. I correct him gently. I already acquired you. Last week. The silence that follows is deafening. Mark's mouth opens, then closes again. Susan exhales sharply, as if she's been holding her breath. I let them sit with it for a moment, just as they once let me sit in that other conference room, humiliated and dismissed. Except this time, I'm the one in control. Mark is the first to break the silence. So, we work for you now. Yes, I say simply, closing the folder with a soft thunk. Effective immediately. Victor runs a hand through his hair, still processing. And if we don't agree to your terms? I meet his eyes, calm and unflinching. Then you're free to walk away. But given the state of your finances, and yes, I did my due diligence, I suspect staying is in your best interest. Susan's face flushes, but she doesn't argue. I stand, walking slowly to the window that overlooks the skyline. You see, I continue. This isn't just business for me. It's personal. 3 years ago, you taught me a lesson that no one was going to hand me my dream. And you were right. But you also taught me what it feels like to be dismissed, ignored, and underestimated. I turn back to face them. So here are my conditions. I walk back to the table, laying out 3 separate documents. Mark, I say, sliding the first toward him. Your leadership style is brilliant, but your arrogance costs people opportunities. You will implement a mentorship program for female founders, and you will personally mentor at least 3 of them this year. I want you to see what potential looks like before it becomes profitable. His lips press into a thin line, but he nods. Victor, I say, placing the second paper in front of him, you will head up our new community outreach initiative. I've seen your numbers. You're good with strategy. Use that to help small businesses that can't afford big consulting fees. Give them the break you never gave me. He swallows hard and nods once. Finally, I look at Susan. And you. You will lead our diversity and inclusion task force. Not as a formality, as a real driver of change. No more dismissive smirks in meetings. No more shutting down ideas without listening. If I hear otherwise, we're done. Susan exhales through her nose, but signs the paper without a word. I sit back down. This isn't revenge. I say softly. This is course correction. You get to stay, but we do things differently here. With respect. With vision. With accountability. The room is quiet again, but it feels different now, not heavy, but charged. For the first time, I see something in their eyes other than skepticism. I see respect. Over the next few weeks, I watch the shift happen. Mark begins scheduling mentorship sessions, sometimes staying late in the office with young entrepreneurs, listening to their ideas with a patience I never saw before. Victor launches the outreach program and actually lights up when small business owners thank him for helping them grow. Even Susan softens. She stops interrupting people in meetings, starts asking questions instead of dismissing ideas. It's strange seeing them change. A part of me wants to stay guarded, to keep the wall between us high. But another part, the part that remembers crying on my bed with my grandmother's journal pressed to my chest, feels something like peace. One evening, after the last of my team has gone home, I sit alone in my office. The city glows outside my window, the same skyline I once stared at from my tiny apartment, wondering if I would ever belong here. I open my desk drawer and pull out the worn leather journal. The spine is cracked now, the ink on the first page slightly faded, but the words still hit me like the first time I read them. Sometimes you have to build the table they won't give you a seat at. I run my fingers over the handwriting, smile, and close the journal gently. The next morning, as I walk into the conference room, Mark, Susan, and Victor are already there, waiting for me. They stand when I enter. "Morning, Alexis," Mark says. There's no smugness in his tone this time, only respect. I take my seat at the head of the table. This time, there's no lump in my throat, no trembling in my hands. Just calm. I glance at the documents on the table, at the people who once doubted me and now answer to me. And for the first time, I say it out loud. They refused my business plan, I say with a slow smile, and now they work for me.